If you've been stuck in the place of knowing that you should let your partner go and not being able to, this episode is going to help you understand why knowing better isn't enough to make you let him go. Hello, and welcome back to the podcast. So you know you need to leave, and maybe you've even said this out loud to a friend, to a therapist, to yourself in the car as you're driving home. I need to leave. This isn't healthy. This is toxic. I deserve better. And yet you can't bring yourself to follow through. So you're still there. Or maybe you've left and then come back and you're in that dance of always finding yourself coming back to this person that you know isn't good for you. Or you're out and you can't stop thinking about him. And the part that's really eating you alive now is this question of, what is wrong with me? How can I be somebody who makes hard decisions at work, who leads confidently these meetings or these teams, who shows up and holds it all together for my friends and my family, and still not be able to make myself do this one thing that I know I need to do? Today, we're going to talk about that question, and we're going to talk about what that question is costing you, because the living inside your head and the questioning yourself and the beating yourself up has you really trapped inside your own mind instead of living your life. And what I want you to know before we get into the episode is that this is not a problem of your intelligence. This is not a problem of your strength. It is not a problem of your self-awareness. You cannot think your way out of a trauma bond. And we're going to talk about why today. It is really my intention with this episode that you understand why leaving isn't a logic or a willpower problem, and what's actually keeping you stuck on a level that has nothing to do with how smart or strong you are. I also want you to understand the very specific thing that is blocking the only kind of healing that actually works and what you can do instead. And I want you to understand the shift that you need to make in order to stop returning or ruminating or white-knuckling your way through days that you're not actually living. And be sure to stick around to the end of the episode where I always pull an oracle card. This will offer you a message that you can take with you this week as you navigate your healing. Okay, so take a deep breath and let's begin. If you don't know, I have a young daughter. She's almost 18 months as I'm recording this today. And last fall, we had decided to put her into floating lessons so that she could learn how to flip over in the water if she fell into a pool or a body of water. We were getting prepared to go to Mexico for our wedding, and we really wanted her to be safe. So she went through these lessons for, 6 or 8 weeks or something. Hated it so much that I was like, I don't know if this is doing harm or good. And so after our wedding, we don't live near a body of water. We wanted to wait until she was a little bit older to do like actual swimming lessons. So we decided to pull her out of the floating lessons. Fast forward to about a week ago, where now all of the pools are open, outdoor pools, and I got invited by a group of moms to go to the pool. And I'm like, okay, we're going to see how this goes. I want to expose her to water. I love water. I want her to be comfortable in water. I'm like, okay, I'm going to go with these moms to the pool. So we're in the pool, and Faye is my daughter's name. She is doing all right in the very, very shallow end where she can still stand up and the water's like to her knees. We work our way into her sitting down in that area and still playing with her toys. And then the moms that I'm with, one of them has a daughter who's around the same age as Faye. The other mom has a son who's a little bit older. They were off playing. And the other mom, who has a similar age daughter, was like really working with her daughter in going underwater, floating on her back, putting water on her head. And her daughter was loving it. So I'm like, okay, Faye's gonna get there. She's gonna really enjoy the water. I wanna do what this other mom is doing. And back when Faye was in her swim lessons, the instructor did give me a couple of tips on how to like help her in the water when it was just her and I, if we were to go to a pool outside of the lessons. So I was like, oh, that information is in my brain somewhere. I'm sure it'll come back to me when I do this with her now. So I pick Faye up and I walk over into the little deeper end, and she freaks out. The moment that she starts panicking, I lose all information from my brain of what the heck I was supposed to do, the right way to hold her, how to be with her in water. So I felt immediately this part of me that's like, you are so stupid. And I, again, was panicking. She was panicking. We were feeding off each other's panic. The other moms are kind of watching, and I'm aware that there's probably a lot of judgment that's happening. And that's a story I'm making up, but that's what I really thought they were thinking. And one of the moms very, very sweetly saw me struggling, and she's like, hey, can I give you a recommendation? I was like, please, please help me. I was too ashamed to ask for help, but when she offered it, I was like, okay. So she's like, if you hold her this specific way, that can help her feel more safe as you are trying to put her on her back to float. Tried that, didn't work. I had waves of, I am so stupid. I'm so embarrassed. I just picked Faye up and I'm like, we're just going to go back to the shallow end, and totally gave up on the mission. As I was walking back into the shallow end with her, I was just having all of these parts come up of, I'm a bad mom. I didn't make Faye stick with her swimming lessons so that she could be comfortable in water. Now she's never going to be comfortable in water. She's going to hate it. This is always going to be a struggle. And down the rabbit hole loop I went of why I made the wrong decision, why I did her a disservice, why I'm a bad mom. And then the very black and white thinking of, I can't do this. She can't do this. We're never going to be able to do this together. I can't come to the pool with these moms because I'm clearly not in the same experience level or intelligence level as they are. And then getting really paralyzed in trying to immediately find the solution. Is it more bath time? Is it helping her float in the bath? Is it more lessons? Is it coming to the pool more often and sitting in the shallow end? Is it forcing her to go underwater? Just trying to go into problem solving mode when I was super dysregulated, having all of these parts come up, and I wanted to hide. I felt so much shame. I was very aware that I was dysregulated and really starting to disassociate while we were in the pool, literally watching the clock of when I could go home. And while I'm panicking on the inside and very hyper aware of everybody watching and judging and feeling this sense of shame, Faye's in the shallow end, playing with her toys again. She was totally fine. So it was a very internal experience for me. What happened when I got home was I was still feeling dysregulated. My husband came in from work and he started sort of talking about other things. And I was just getting really punchy and doing this passive aggressive thing that happens when I get really triggered, kind of stomping around and trying to make dinner when he was talking to me. And it just a normal pattern that I fall into with the inner monologue running of, I will never be able to figure this out. I suck as a parent. I screwed Faye up because she's never going to be able to swim. I'm stupid. I'm a bad mom. My husband is very attuned and he's like, is everything okay? And I sort of look up and he tries to come over and hug me. And I actually stiffened up and he tried to put his arms around me. I was like, I don't need this right now. I need to go upstairs. And so I went upstairs, and our understanding in our marriage is that if I say I need some space or I need to go upstairs and tapping is usually the modality that I use to regulate and understand what's happening inside of me. He knows that I'm okay. He knows that he doesn't have to follow me. He doesn't have to make sure that I'm going to come back down. We've done this enough times where he trusts me to go regulate and come back down, and knows that I will yell down to him if I need him to come up or whatever. I'll ask for help. So he lets me go. I go upstairs and I take some space. I sit down and I start doing some EFT tapping, and the tears start flowing almost immediately with all of these narratives and all of these parts that are coming up around what happened. And I was able to regulate my nervous system with the tapping while feeling those really strong emotions, while crying, hit this crescendo peak of the ugly cry, felt the release, and then was able to come back into that presence of, after a good cry, you're just sort of okay, I can see clearly. I feel like my mind was sort of washed, and now I'm more centered and I can see this situation more clearly. And so I made some understanding there of I'm not a bad mom. I had a hard moment. We made the right decision at the time that we did about the swim lessons, and now we can reassess if we want to get back in swim lessons or what we want to do. This is not the end of the world. And really honoring the parts of me that felt like that was the end of the world. And that really that shame came on so strongly. So being able to see that, being able to comfort those parts allowed me to then go back downstairs and receive a hug from my husband that felt comforting because I was in a place of that ability to co-regulate with him, explain to him what had happened, those parts that came up. And then the best part is we got to still enjoy our evening. I wasn't consumed by those feelings of shame. I wasn't consumed by those emotions that kept getting stuck and like bubbling up, but I kept putting the lid back on. It was just presence. It was coming back into that calm, centered place. It was really that self-energy. So why the heck am I telling you a story about me going to the pool and falling into a pit of shame? If you are in a place of knowing that you should leave and not being able to do differently, you are also feeling shame. You are also likely saying to yourself, I am so stupid. I should know better than this. I should be doing better than this. I'm panicking because I know this, but I'm not able to do something differently. Something is wrong with me. Shame comes in I am statements. I am stupid. I am an idiot. I am broken. Not I did something stupid. I did something silly. I did something. It's I am. And you are likely in that place of I am broken. I am stupid. Something is wrong with me. Why do I know what I should be doing but can't leave? And likely what you're doing is similar to how I was stirred up in all of those emotions and all of those parts. Likely your parts are very loud right now with self-judgment, with beating yourself up, with specifically watching yourself at work, let's say, be able to move through a really hard problem, figure out what you need to do, and then do the thing and fix the problem. And instead of actually feeling pride around being able to do that, you automatically go to this place of, well, why can I do this at work, but I can't do this in my personal life? Like, how can I make decisions and lead people so effortlessly and yet go home and feel so stuck in making the decision or following through with doing something that I know is going to benefit me and my health? And that self-judgment place is a paralyzing place to be. So just like me in the pool, when I was feeling that self-judgment, I was like the duck sitting there, but underneath, like panicking, unable to really make a decision or take an action that was going to make the situation different or make me feel better in that moment. And so for you, the paralyzation could look like maybe you're sitting on a divorce. Maybe you have drawn up papers. Maybe you have consulted a lawyer. This happens a lot with women that I work with inside my Becoming program, where they come into the program of like, part of my intention is actually following through with this thing because I've gotten so close so many times to pulling the trigger, so to speak, or to following through. And then I back up and then I chicken out and then I get too weak and then I believe his promise. And there's a lot of indecision and a lot of paralyzation, in part because they are so dysregulated in this self-judgment. And that is a really not only painful, but like energetically draining place to be. Being in indecision is one of the most expensive states of mind to be in because you're constantly weighing out these different options and you're living in all of these different realities and it's feeling stuck. There's no clarity there. So it's like an engine that just keeps revving and it never comes back down and you're running out of gas. And what happens when your engine keeps revving and you're running out of gas is that inevitably you are going to exert all of the energy that could be otherwise spent to making you feel fulfilled in your life. So you're no longer connecting with your friends. You're no longer partaking in your hobbies. Maybe you've forgotten what your hobbies are. And because the shame voice is so loud, it's also like making you retreat further and further away into this depression and into this isolation. I talked to a woman a few weeks ago who was talking about how hard it was on a Friday afternoon at work to be witnessing all of her colleagues be so excited for the weekend to be home and be with their spouse and their kids. And she was dreading it. She was dreading going home for the weekend. And it was this really hard spot because she didn't want to be home, but she didn't want to be out either. Can you relate to that? Where this like depression blanket is just on you all the time. And it's really hard to like amp yourself up enough to go be with people that you do love, especially if those people are in healthy relationships or seemingly healthy relationships, where then there's this comparison that happens, similar to how I was really comparing myself to these moms in the pool of like, oh my God, that is compounding the sense that I am not enough, that I'm making the wrong decision, that I am doing something wrong. It's like that very really intense mirror there. So you're not going out, you're not doing things that bring you joy. Really nothing brings you joy anymore, not even like your cup of coffee in the morning, not even your drive to work, not even the podcast. It's just sort of meh. And you're exhausted. And you're probably at this point of really running out of excuses for him and yourself, right? It's like, I fucking know I need to leave. I have the divorce papers like drawn up. I'm just giving up hope that I'm ever going to be able to do it, that I'm ever going to be able to follow through. And when you're feeling a really intense incongruence with something that you know and something that you're able to do, we try to like make it a problem that's easier to solve. We try to make it like a more surface level thing of, oh, well, if I was just smarter or stronger, then I would have left by now. And those feel like easier problems to solve because, oh, I can just read more, or I can just watch more YouTube videos, or I can just listen to more podcasts, read more books, and then I'll have the knowledge that will make me strong enough to actually leave. But you're really trying to use your logic, your analyzing, your willpower to help you override what is most likely a physiological bond. When you are finding yourself returning to someone who's harmful or unhealthy, and you feel like you don't have agency over that choice, it's sort of like my body is making me make this decision before my mind sort of catches up with it. Oftentimes that means that you are trauma bonded. And trauma bonding is a very specific cycle that happens repeatedly that releases very specific hormones that keep you seeking the other person in order to make me feel okay. I need the closeness of this person in order to validate that I am lovable and worthy and okay. And when that person is far away, when there's separation, when there's a threat of separation or a thought of separation, I panic because it's like my one coping mechanism to make me feel okay is leaving. That's a physiological bond and addiction to this person. So you are trying to treat a physiological draw or connection or dependency with understanding more about it. This would be similar to like somebody who's addicted to alcohol, thinking that they could stop drinking every single day if they read more books about stopping drinking every single day, right? When we think about it in that way, we're like, there's no way, because your body's dependent on the alcohol and your mind is dependent on numbing from the alcohol. So we understand that that's kind of a silly thing to do, but in your mind, it feels different. So you're thinking knowing the truth should be enough to help you break the pattern. You are thinking that you can just white knuckle your way through the days that maybe you do take a break or you do separate. And you're like, it's going to be this time. I'm going to not contact him again. I'm going to follow through with the divorce. And then a week goes by and he's right back in your space. You let him right back in because your body is going through withdrawal from this physiological dependency you have on this person. The good news is that you can break a trauma bond. The bad news is you can't do it with your mind. You can't just logic your way out of this physiological pattern of dependency that you've had with this person. And to go full circle here, when you are living in shame, shame is the bouncer to any sort of deeper understanding or processing that can happen in order to help you heal from this type of dependency. When you are in shame, you cannot be in compassion. And compassion is the place that we find the entrance into understanding more about why this is happening and how you can shift it and what beliefs, what nervous system tending needs to happen in order to actually shift the dependency so that you're no longer reaching for him to make you feel okay. Just like somebody who's struggling with alcohol does the inner work to no longer reach for the drink to make them feel okay. I love when I can make something tangible out of a thing that feels really intangible and really like nebulous and hard to sort of grasp sometimes. So I want you to go with me here in order to really see how costly this is for you. So let's say that you have been in this indecision place, not making yourself be able to follow through with leaving or staying left for 6 months. And let's say on average, you're spending about 8 hours a day in some amount of shameful thoughts, preoccupation with him or the relationship, dread about going home, or finding yourself playing out all these different scenarios in indecision, okay? 8 hours a day over 6 months, I averaged like 30 days a month, is roughly 1,440 hours. And if we break that down into days, that is 60 fucking days. 60 days that you have been in preoccupation, in overthinking, in indecision, in dread, in hypervigilance, right? And that's probably being generous. It's probably more than 8 hours a day. But for sake of this example, 60 days is 2 months out of the last 6. That is a third of that time that you are living in survival mode, that you are not enjoying your life, that you're dreading your life, that you're feeling depressed, you're feeling shameful. That is so much time. And if we think about this in terms of weekends, so similar to the woman who was like, I really dread the weekend, that's 26 weekends. There's 26 weekends in a 6-month span on average. That's 26 weekends that you're spending depressed, anxious, ashamed, in indecision, dreadful, laying on the couch, right? It's just like, whoa, what could you be doing with 26 weekends of your life? And I hate to be the one that puts a spotlight on this, but shame and depression are not going to go away by themselves. And they don't go away the more that you isolate. They don't get better the more that you isolate. So what you really need is the correct tool to use to interrupt the trauma bond, to be able to follow through on leaving, and be able to hold yourself through that process. Because you are going to feel intense discomfort when you're breaking a trauma bond. It will feel like withdrawal. If you've gone through withdrawal from drugs and alcohol, or you know somebody who has, it can be that intense of a dysregulatory experience. So the trauma bond has really kept you stuck on a nervous system and biological level, which is why the way that I work with clients in my program is on a nervous system and biological level. If you're not working with the nervous system, when you get in panic, you're going to want to reach for him. When you get in panic inside my program, you have the tools to come back into a regulated state. You have the support to help keep you accountable. You have this co-regulation experience of the other women in the group. There's so many tools that help to really pad this really uncomfortable experience so that you can follow through on the thing that you want to follow through with. You're not only meeting yourself in these really acute periods of activation, but you're also getting the tools to recalibrate your nervous system so that you're feeling peace and calm more of the time. Similar to how I was able to go upstairs and move through the experience of all of my parts feeling really activated and me feeling really dysregulated, I did that in a matter of minutes and then could come back and be with my family. So that's the tool that you're going to learn, is how do I meet the discomfort, tend to myself so that I can find that inner source of okayness and then reach to support to find that co-regulation, because that's also important. When you are more regulated, you also have more access to the part of your brain that can help you make sense and help you be able to actually process the deeper emotional patterning that has kept you stuck and kept you going back. So the nervous system has to be the front line here, because without a regulated nervous system, you can't make understanding, you can't find clarity, you can't make decisions, and you can't process the deeper emotional and nervous system patterns that are keeping you stuck in this dependency with him. So that's how I work with clients, because that is the way that you're going to find relief, and you're going to be able to follow through on these things that you want to follow through on, and the way that you're going to start feeling like yourself again. Start feeling energized and fully alive and like you want to live your life, not just get through the next weekend. I want you to reclaim the next 26 fucking weekends. Time is one of our most precious resources, and I want you to get that back. So go to the show notes. You can schedule a free intro session with me. I'm going to really get a good understanding of what's happening for you. See if you're aligned for my program Becoming. We can talk about the details of the program, and you can check it out on my website before you schedule that session as well at brewolta.com. But the link to schedule the free intro session is already in the show notes. Okay, so let's pull an oracle card as our last little piece of juice for the episode here. And the message that comes out for you today is crone. There's a picture of a elderly woman's face. And I'll find crone in the book and I'll read to you what it says. Crone, a sacred historian. She's here to comfort you. She brings a clear vision of what was so that you remember that you have survived life's darkest times and have the scars to prove it. Her worn face is a badge of honor. She is no longer seduced by the shoulds of life. She is here to encourage you to keep your eye towards your best future self, knowing that every misstep, wrong turn, and failure is part of the richness that life and longevity have to offer. Crone is the wise elder who need not explain, defend, or reason. She knows her truth and accepts her victories and failures equally. Do not look backwards with regret over things that cannot be changed, or you will not rid yourself of the bitter taste in your mouth, and the meaning of your experiences will be soured. Crone doesn't give a fuck, and neither should you. Very good message to end with today. So, go to the show notes, schedule your intro session, and until I see you there or I see you in the next episode, please remember that you are not alone.